To increase public awareness of endangered historic properties and advocate for our state's historical buildings and resources, Preservation Alaska announces Alaska's 10 most endangered historic properties during National Historic Preservation Month each May. The properties on this list are nominated by individuals and organizations throughout the state. This list is a call for action from all stakeholders and is not a compendium of endangered historic places in our state. The 10 most endangered historic properties was established in 1991 and celebrates 35 years this year. The 10 Most Endangered Historic Places program spotlights irreplaceable historic, architectural, cultural, and archaeological resources in Alaska that are in imminent danger of being lost. The act of listing these resources acknowledges their importance to the heritage of Alaska and draws attention to the predicaments that endanger their survival and the survival of historic resources statewide. The list, generated from nominations by the public, aims to attract new perspective and ideas to sites in desperate need of creative solutions. Selections to the 10 most endangered list are based on three criteria: historic significance and architectural integrity, the critical nature of the threat identified, and the likelihood that inclusions on the list will have a positive impact on efforts to protect the resource. Although Preservation Alaska's 10 Most Endangered Places list is published once per year, the fight for the preservation of our historic and cultural resources takes place in communities around the state daily. At Preservation Alaska, our educational programming and advocacy efforts continue year-round. Many properties previously listed among the 10 most endangered historic places have once again become assets to Alaska's communities. Others continue to need more attention, resources, and care. To access previous years, you can go to alaskapreservation.org. The full text of the nominations will be available on our website as a PDF, along with our downloadable brochure. So without further ado, here are the nominations for 2026. Regret goes only one way. The preservation of historic buildings is a one-way street. There is no chance to renovate or to save a historic site once it's gone, and we can never be certain that it will be valued in the future. This reality brings to light the importance of locating and saving buildings of historic significance, because once a piece of history is destroyed, it is lost forever. The Tolovana Roadhouse is located 60 river miles downstream from Nenana, confluence of Tanana and Tolovana rivers. The Tolovana Roadhouse sits in a clearing on the bank of the Tanana River, 60 river miles downstream from Nenana, and is only accessible by boat during the summer or trail and air during the winter. It is a 100-plus-year-old log structure, approximately 25 by 80 feet, comprised of 4 separate rooms with log walls between. One room contains a kitchen, common area, one is a bunk room, and the other 2 are private bedrooms or living spaces. The structure underwent significant restoration in the 1980s prior to its designation. It is in fair condition and has been utilized as a rustic lodge for winter tours for the past 15 years. It is also available year-round as a shelter cabin for travelers in the area. Although the shoreline has been stable for 100 years, the main channel of the Tanana River has been shifting over the last decade, causing new and now increasingly rapid erosion of the bank in front of the roadhouse. The goal of this preservation effort is to stabilize the shoreline to the greatest extent feasible and move the roadhouse structure to a location on the property under less threat from the river, placing it on a more secure foundation, replacing rotten steel logs, and addressing the other minor repair concerns in the process. The structure is under imminent threat of being undermined by the river. The upstream corner is now 53 feet from the bank, with an eddy eroding within 25 feet just a few yards upstream. That is as of March 2025. Some outbuildings have already been moved. Between 50 to 75 feet has eroded in the past 7 years, with the majority of this in the last 3. Although impossible to predict precisely, the river is likely to reach the structure within 2 to 4 years. Wolf Creek Boat Works is located near Hollis on Prince of Wales Island. Originally called the 12-Mile Arm Boat Shop, this beautiful landmark started out in 1939 building boats out of local Southeast Alaska timber. For years, Israel Stevens built and sold skiffs using the same belt-driven tools that still operate inside the boathouse today. Originally powered by water from the west water flume off of Wolf Creek, it was later powered by a large S. Morgan Smith Francis style water turbine. All of the original equipment is still housed within the building, and while modern aluminum skiffs are now built in the boatworks, the building still serves the same function as it did in 1940. Since 2015 and the uncertainty of the land and no current lease or sale, Wolf Creek has ceased commercial operations and has now become a nonprofit museum. The land that Wolf Creek Boatworks sits on was involved in a land swap between the U.S. Forest Service and the State Mental Health Trust in 2019. Of the 1,500 acres set to be logged, approximately 20 acres surround the historic boathouse, powerhouse, penstock, cabin, and boat grid. Since the land was transferred to Alaska Mental Health Trust in 2019, the trust has made it clear that the land will be logged, and they have no interest or desire to fulfill the obligations agreed to with the preservation and protection of the historic Wolf Creek Boatworks. Located on their site for about 80 years, 25 years of restoration, maintenance, improvements, and preservation have been invested in Wolf Creek Boatworks. The boatworks is situated on a 7-acre site with very little of the land allowed by law to be logged. The Alaska Mental Health Trust tends to log the entire 1,500 acres to fund its programs. St. George the Victorious Church is located at St. George Island. According to the National Park Service Historical American Building Survey, or HABS, the St. George Orthodox Church has historical significance. It was built in 1936 by Aleut parishioners with earnings from the seal trade. The urgency of this project is high. The roof of the church began leaking from the bell tower and windows of the cupola some time ago. The parishioners have been unable to combat the leak and keep water out. The water has been seeping into the internal walls, and it has damaged the flooring and ruined the interior drywall. Mold has developed in the sheetrock, which is a health hazard for most of the vulnerable parishioners. The damage is worsening at a rate the local parish is unable to mitigate. Internal structure is beginning to be compromised as water leaks to the internal framework. It is one of 10 Russian churches designated as a National Historic Landmark. The building is not heated due to the high cost of fuel. The parish cannot hold standard length services, 60 to 90 minutes, due to the intense smell of the mold which permeates the building and especially impacts elders and small children. The Extension Church of Our Lord Chapel is located at Carlick on Kodiak Island. The extension of Our Lord Orthodox Church was constructed in 1888 and is believed to be the second Orthodox church in Carlick, the first Russian post on the western side of Kodiak Island. The church was situated inland from the cliff's edge, high above the mouth of the Carlick River in Shelikof Strait. In August 2021, the church was lifted from its foundation and moved about 80 feet inland for a temporary placement. Although the church does not currently have a resident priest, a visiting priest conducted services throughout the year prior to the move to its temporary location. Photos illustrate the church was built above the original village. However, in 1978, the village nearly washed away during a winter storm that reshaped the mouth of the Carlick River. It collapsed a bridge and destroyed the local fuel supply. Although this iconic Orthodox church has been moved away from the bluff from its original site, coastal erosions in an age of climate change shows no sign of lifting up. A permanent site is necessary to ensure long-term preservation and continued use of the church in Carlick. Negotiations are currently underway to find a new permanent location upriver and closer to the contemporary village, where it will retain the same east-west orientation, as well as serve as a beacon above the Carlick River for the community and fishermen returning home, as it has for 135 years. The steamer Nenana, also known as the SS Nenana, is located at Fairbanks. The steamer Nenana is a 5-deck, wooden-hull Western River-style steamer sternwheeler packet built from clear, vertical grain, kiln-dried fir. The ship is a blend of steam, wood, and paddle wheel technology that is 237 feet long and weighs a total of 1,128 tons. The steamer was commissioned and built in 1932 by the Alaska Railroad. She was prefabricated in Seattle, assembled in Nenana, and launched into service in 1933 and run by the Alaska Railroad. The original design contained 24 berths, a dining salon, a smoking room, an observation room, a kitchen, a bakery, and men's and women's bathrooms, along with passengers and officers' rooms with porcelain sinks and electric lights. She is located in Pioneer Park in Fairbanks. The years of neglect and deferred maintenance have brought the SS Nenana, a beautiful piece of Alaskan history, to deplorable conditions. In April 2018, the Fairbanks North Star Bureau blocked all entrances to the sternwheeler and closed off this beloved historic landmark to the public due to safety concerns. Dedicated community members organized into the nonprofit Friends of SS Nenana had the vessel inspected by the principal naval architect of Columbia Sentinel Engineers Incorporated from Seattle, Washington, during June of 2019. A report of needed repairs was generated for the group. The National Park Service Alaska Interior Region is offering technical assistance for the repairs and restoration of the vessel. Without substantial fundraising, advocacy, and a close partnership agreement with the borough, we will lose the SS Nenana, a historic sternwheeler that is the last of its kind. Pioneer Hall itself will note was the U.S. Customs House is located in Ketchikan. Pioneer Hall is a two-story wood frame building on post foundations constructed over bedrock. The building footprint is approximately 1,786 square feet. It has a steep, modified hip roof with an unfinished attic. The building has been altered on all four elevations and in its interior. Modifications are made to its front street facade in its early years and continue to be made to visible facades along Pioneer Way. It was built on a prominent site overlooking the waterfront, and its 50-foot flagpole was a beacon for early seafarers coming to Ketchikan. As the town grew rapidly in the years that followed, many now historic buildings began to surround Pioneer Hall. By the late 1920s, the commanding view earlier enjoyed by the Pioneer Hall was eclipsed by larger buildings, including the Gilmore Hotel and the City Hall. The building is situated on historic Pioneer Way, which is a stairway pedestrian alley connecting Front Street to Main and Grant Streets. The Pioneer Hall is an iconic Ketchikan landmark from the community's earliest days. It was the first customs house located in Ketchikan, 1900 to 1907, and has been a prominent landmark in the community since 1900. In 1922, it began a new life of serving the pioneers of Alaska, Igloo number 16 and Igloo 7. The pioneers have continued to meet in this building over the ensuing nearly 100 years and continues to carry out many civic activities. This is the downtown historic district's and the city of Ketchikan's oldest building and a contributing building to the district's National Register of Historic Places designation. While the building has been altered over the years, the Pioneer Hall is individually eligible for the National Register by virtue of its place in Ketchikan's history. The Bristol Bay boats located in Naknek. This historic collection of 14 wooden Bristol Bay fishing boats demonstrates the evolution from the days of sail that began in the 1880s to the first powerboats legally allowed to fish the waters of Bristol Bay in 1951. This unique collection features rare and one-of-a-kind boats that range from early 1900 sailboats to conversions, which are sailboats that have been converted to host gas-powered engines and retrofitted with cabins to replace the ridgepole tents formerly constructed with oilskins and wooden oars. The conversion range from those with the first small enclosed cabins and the later version with stand-up cabins. The collection also features several boats built by Bryant, which are some of the first wooden power boats designed as built specifically for our fishery. The collection also includes some of the last models of wooden boats designed and built by American Commercial that were made in the late 1970s before wood was replaced with other construction materials. A keystone in the collection is fully restored 1932 sailboat, Libby's Cognac 5, which is fully restored with sails and all the riggings, anchors, and net. In 1951, 86 boats were motorized, while 631 were still powered with sails. Within two years, in 1953, over 1,100 boats were motorized, and only 62 boats in the fleet that remained were double-ender sailboats. The historic wooden boat collection of the Bristol Bay Historical Society represents an important part of fishery management in Alaska and remains an icon of the history, culture, and economy of Bristol Bay. These boats must be preserved, maintained, and displayed to protect the maritime cultural resources of Bristol Bay. The Sitka Indian Village is located at Sitka. The Sitka Indian Village is an 11-acre site in downtown Sitka that used to contain roughly 43 Tlingit clan houses. Clan houses are units of matrilineal lineage, not just a physical structure, but a person's hereditary. As described by Dr. Rosita Worrell, the clan house is at the center of Tlingit identity. A Tlingit is born into the clan house, and our body goes to the clan house for the final time when we leave this world. A clan house is the place for ceremony. It is where authority for decision-making derives. It is the foundation of Tlingit government. The clan house is utilized in child rearing and the teaching of clan history and tradition. It holds the songs and the crests of the clans. It is a house of respect for the opposite moiety. The clan house is a community gathering place and a shelter to those who are traveling or need. In the words of Point House clan member, it is integral to every part of traditional Tlingit life. In 1926, the Tlingit people petitioned for the Alaska Native Town Site Act, managed under BIA. Through complex titles and not aligning with Tlingit rules of inheritance, many of the clan houses have fallen into disrepair or sold to non-native families. Today, the Sitka Indian Village continues to display distinctive Tlingit culture patterns, particularly as they existed through the Russian and early decades of American rule, when all clan houses were actively used. The Sitka Indian Village Historic District feels like a distinct neighborhood as you walk through the village. The elements of the district contribute to the feeling of time and place through their unique placement of the village and the sense of Tlingit culture and design. The Sitka Indian Village displays the history of the community through its unique lot sizes and the architectural styles, which are distinct from the entire community of Sitka. Pilgrim Hot Springs is located 60 miles north of Nome. Pilgrim Hot Springs is located on a 320-acre tract of land that was originally surveyed as a homestead in the early 1900s. The property is accessible during 3 or 4 months of the year via the Pilgrim Hot Springs Access Road, a 7-mile frontier road built in the early 1980s, which connects the property to the Cougar Road or Nome-Taylor Highway. A subarctic oasis is located in remote northwestern Alaska. Pilgrim Hot Springs is nestled between Hen and Chickens Hill and the Kigliak Mountains. The property is a lush tree oasis with an abundant geothermal resource. Pilgrim boasts hot bathing pools, warm, fertile soil, and a unique history, including pre-contact utilization by the indigenous population, Alaska Gold Rush history, railroads and dog sled trails, early aviation, and military use. Its time used as a Catholic mission and orphanage for the victims of the 1918-1919 flu pandemic, agricultural use, as well as its most recent use as a recreation destination and tourist attraction. Pilgrim Hot Springs was used as an orphanage by the Catholic Jesuit diocese from 1918 to 1941. It was used during World War II as a place for soldiers' rest and relaxation, when the military presence significantly increased as a result of the U.S.-USSR Lend-Lease program. Since the 1950s, it was enjoyed primarily for recreational use by the people of the region and visitors to Nome. Bishop Road Chapel is located at Arctic Village. The log Bishop Road Chapel in Arctic Village is an iconic structure renowned not only in the subarctic region bordering the East Fork of the Chandler, but indeed across the state of Alaska. Built by local villagers during the post-World War II era, this extraordinary and unique chapel is the third iteration of a structure that was first created by one of the founding fathers of the village, Reverend Albert Tritt, at the turn of the 20th century. For decades, the chapel, situated in the center of the village, served as a focus of social and communal activity. It was and is an homage to the Gwich'in identity. The church has been renovated over the years since it ceased to be used actively in the 1960s, most recently 2002 to 2005. Given its relevance and significance to Gwich'in culture, and indeed to the history and heritage of Alaska as a whole, however, given the harsh conditions of the region compounded by a changing climate, a recent condition survey by New Vision Architecture in 2019 has determined that after 2 decades, the structure is again endangered and in need of additional maintenance. Unless a series of repairs are undertaken soon, the building could be lost, this time possibly for good. In the past several years, local villagers have done their best to maintain the property. It is the #1 tourist attraction in the village and has been used as a centerpiece of communal celebration and pride since the day it was desegregated by Bishop McDonald in 2004. As conditions have degraded in recent years, a key group of concerned residents has sought to protect the items that once were housed in the chapel, such as the historic altar cloth and other important objects. Pews have also been removed. From landmarks and icons to neighborhoods and homes, share and celebrate the places that are most important to you. And this is the purpose of celebrating historic preservation during the month of May. You can support this program by donating or sponsoring the 10 Most Endangered Historic Grant Program. More information is available on our website.